You're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Bhaskar Sundaram, and with my co-host,
Ashley Case,
we will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry.
Today's guest is Mike Parkinson. Mike Parkinson, Microsoft MVP and APMP Fellow, is an internationally recognized visual communication and presentation expert, an award-winning author of Billion Dollar Graphics and A Trainer's Guide to PowerPoint, Best Practices for Master Presentations or Presenters. He owns Billion Dollar Graphics and is a partner at 24 Hour Company, a premier creative services firm. Mike has spearheaded multi-billion-dollar projects and helped Fortune 500 companies and international learning institutions win billions of dollars. Welcome, Mike, to Scribble Talk. Great to have you here with us.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Bhaskar. I am so excited to be sharing some of this stuff and geeking out with my friends.
Yeah, love it. So we're going to start out talking about your life and career. So we have some fun questions. Wondering, where were you born and where did you go to high school and get your education?
I was born in Baltimore City and went to Baltimore School for the Arts with some pretty famous people here in the States like Tupac Shakur, Jada Pinkett, who married Will Smith, and a few other people. So it was a very interesting high school experience, not what I would call typical, and certainly not typical of Baltimore City.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. And then from there, did you go on to college or any continuing education?
Yeah, I went to college for bioengineering because I was so sick and tired of fine art. I grew up pretty poor, America poor, but it was still poor. And I didn't want to be poor anymore. So I thought, well, I'm not going to make a lot of money being an artist. Instead, what I'll do is something that I'm passionate about, which is bioengineering. Really love science. I really dig on science. So I love art. I love science. So I went to school for bioengineering and thought, this is horrible. I don't like bioengineering. So one of the professors was a computer art teacher. And she stumbled upon me, and she knew my background was Baltimore School for the Arts, and she kind of latched on to me. Ruth Levitt was her name. And she said, oh, honey, if you like the arts and you like science, you've got to come to computer art. And the rest was history.
Wow.
Oh, that's amazing. So did that bring you to kind of your first job?
Yes. So one of the people that went to school with me, her name was Debbie, can't remember her last name, but she went off. She graduated and she went to work for a gentleman by the name of Dr. Mio Thant, who is a gentleman, an oncologist from Myanmar, Burma. And he had started this company that taught people how to do medical procedures via gamification, long before gamification was popular, which is basically learning something through games. So you would do games like thoracentesis or open heart surgery. The cool thing is in order for me to help create those games with the team, I had to actually go see the surgery and learn how to do the surgery.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was co-located, standing there next to the surgeon while he's doing open heart surgery. So I learned, took pictures, wrote notes, and all these amazing things. So in case anybody needs open heart surgery, I can help a little bit.
Oh my goodness, that's fascinating. So from there, when did you enter the proposal industry?
I entered the proposal industry years later. A friend of mine who went to college with me yet again, his name is Dave Johnson. He went to work for a company called 24 Hour Company. And he called me up because he knew I got laid off. The company I worked with, ISM was the name of it, closed down. And so I started my own side company called System 9 Studios and did all this fun stuff. It's a hoot to start your own business. And he called me up and said, hey, are you looking for work? And I said, yeah, absolutely. He said, well, I'm working for this company called 24 Hour Company. We do proposals. And I said, what's a proposal? And he said, basically, it's a sales presentation or a marketing document. You have to experience it to understand it. So I went to work for him, and I believe I worked somewhere in the neighborhood of 28 hours straight, somewhere in there.
Wow.
For a company called 24 Hour Company. So I worked about 28 hours straight, and I drove back home. So this was in Virginia, and I lived in what was called Sparks, which was about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. So I drove back home, after getting some sleep. And I said to myself, I will never do that again. And they called me a week later and they said, hey, you're pretty good at this stuff. Can you help us out again? I said, yes, I totally will. It's this weird thing about working like that. So anyway, I went back down and worked with them. Long story short, a year or so into the future, I was offered partnership at 24 Hour Company. And now I've been there for, it's been 22 years now, something like that.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. So what got you interested into Microsoft PowerPoint?
I want to empower people. My dream is that more and more people use effective visual communication to be successful. And in order to do that, I can teach people how to conceptualize, meaning I've got an idea in my head. How do I turn that idea into a clear, compelling visual concept? I can do that. Anybody can learn how to do this. It's messaging and making sure that we appeal to people's emotional part of their brain and so forth. I digress. So going back into it. So I can teach people how to conceptualize. Teaching people how to render a graphic on the computer, well, that's a challenge. Mm-hmm. That takes years and years of experience. So I thought, well, how can I help people go from the concept to the final render in their proposals or presentations? So I decided that I would prefabricate graphics for people. And since most people don't use Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator, but they do all have PowerPoint, I started to create all my graphics in PowerPoint. And by necessity, I learned more and more about using PowerPoint. So eventually I got pretty freaking good at it, and to the point that I was invited to be a Microsoft MVP, which was a huge honor. And it was kind of weird because I'm an Adobe guy who uses Microsoft out of necessity. And now I am of the opinion that there's a time and a place for both.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And especially for those of us who don't have access to those tools, it's great to know how to do kind of a basic graphic using Microsoft PowerPoint.
Yes, absolutely. And what I'm trying to do is, well, what I am doing is moving past the basic graphics and helping people do what they would normally have to hire a graphic designer to do. Not because I want to put graphic designers out of business. That is not it, because, well, that's what I do. The reason why is because of the people out there that create content that would benefit from visuals, the vast majority will never, ever hire a graphic designer. So what I'm trying to do is help them see the benefits of doing this. And once they do that, then they're more likely to kind of mature to the point that they're willing to outsource when it's something that they just can't find or make any other way.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what's your most memorable creative proposal material so far?
The most memorable stuff are usually oral proposals because of the flexibility. I'm able to include animation. I can't give specifics because, I'll get in trouble. But I can tell you we've done some pretty sophisticated animations to help communicate some pretty complex solutions. Now, the secret that I have found is to make sure that we take that complex solution and make it very easy for people to understand, because we never know the technical proficiency in the room. So some people may be experts at perhaps computer engineering, and other people don't know the difference between a CPU and RAM.
Yeah, that's a great point. You have to make it attainable to the broader audience, right?
Yes, the lowest common denominator needs to be included. And in the world of procurement, bids and tenders, we never know who is going to be making some of the decisions.
Right.
Wow, Mike. So 20 years of running your own company, Mike, $1 billion graphic, I understand 1999, was it?
I own two companies. 24 Hour Company is a graphic services firm where we do it for you. And $1 Billion Graphics was started in 2006. And that's you do it yourself. How do we empower people to do it themselves? So that's the difference. One is services, one's products. And we didn't want to muddy our message, so we have the two companies separate.
Can you share little insights of your entrepreneurial journey, Mike?
Oh, sure. A quick little story. Someone interviewed me for a magazine,
Yeah.
And at the end of the interview, she said, so what piece of advice would you give for someone who wanted to become an entrepreneur? And I matter-of-factly, forgive me for doing this, I matter-of-factly said, yeah, don't do it. And she was very upset at me. She said, that's horrible. And I stopped and I said, well, the reason why I say that is because if I tell someone who wants to become an entrepreneur, who believes in what they do, don't do it, and they do it anyway, in my experience, they have what it takes to become an entrepreneur.
Nice.
Because being an entrepreneur is unlike anything I've ever experienced. It is very challenging because a lot of times I've read this great book by Michael Gerber called E-Myth, and I think it was E-Myth or E-Myth Manager. And what he said is there are three types of vocations in the world. There's the technician, there's the manager, and there's the entrepreneur. Most people have what he calls an entrepreneurial seizure, meaning they're really good at what they do. They become the expert technician. Ashley Biscar, you become the best proposal person that you could possibly be. You say, I am really good at this thing. I know I should own a company doing it. The challenge is vastly different skill sets are required for those different vocations. So I too had the entrepreneurial seizure. I was invited to become a business owner and started Billion Dollar Graphics. And I had to learn these new skills of being an entrepreneur and a manager. By the way, I am a terrible manager. I am an expert technician. I'm a mediocre entrepreneur, and I am a really bad manager.
Wow. Because that kind of nailed the point to me. I'm trying to become an entrepreneur as well for the past 6 years, Mike.
It's challenging.
And you kind of nailed it. In a way how we all have gaps, like at some point you have, different levels of expertise in what you're trying to do. But that's brilliant, Mike. So at some point, Mike, as you rightly said, from being an expert technician, you also wrote books, Mike. I mean, the first book, the do-it-yourself $1 billion graphics, I think was published in 2007, was it?
Yeah, it's around there, yes.
Yes, I mean, can you share the experience of what point and what decided, what triggered you to write a book?
Yes.
And your experience?
Absolutely. So this is, and forgive me for being, I'm really open and honest. So some of the answers may be a little odd. We, at 24 Hour Company, we believed with all of our heart that we wanted to help people be more successful. We wanted to help people kick more butt, take even more names. So what we said was, how could we do that? How could we help more people? One of the things that we decided was, well, what if we had a guru, someone who had a large following, working for our company? And at the time, there was a gentleman, and he's still around. There's a gentleman by the name of Edward Tufte. Edward Tufte is a visual communication guru. He is well followed. He is a brilliant, brilliant person. And we said, well, what if he worked for us? We said, well, we'd be able to help more people. Yes. So obviously, we're not going to go out and hire Edward Tufte, who I think teaches at Harvard or Yale or something like that. So we said, well, how did Edward Tufte become Edward Tufte?
Yes.
So we broke it down. And one of the things that he did was he started speaking at conferences, sharing what he learned, writing books. And this is after years and years of learning and training and testing and so forth. So it wasn't like he just said, I'll go write a book for money. He didn't do it that way. He wanted to help people. So that's exactly what we did. And that's how I decided to write the first book. And that's how I started to get into public speaking. And that was an interesting journey. Nonetheless, that's the catalyst. We said, well, what if Edward Tufte worked here? And so we said, well, let's make an Edward Tufte. Let's help people like he's helping people.
Nice, Mike. And from then, with the first book, Mike, the second book was published like 10 years down the line, Mike, and that too, it targeted people who presented. Is that because of your experience from 2007, from 2018, you kind of learned, okay, I wrote the book, I also spoke in, now I need to make another book for people who present. What's the rationale behind the second book, Mike?
Yes, yes, I gained experience and so forth. It was interesting because there is a brilliant, amazing presenter. She did. I'm drawing a blank on her name, but she did The Inconvenient Truth by the vice president. It was a movie about global warming and climate change and such, and it won an Oscar. And she was teaching for an organization called ATD. I'm drawing a blank on her name. It'll come to me. Oh my goodness, she's going to kill me. So she was doing all the workshops for ATD, the Association for Talent Development, which is the largest talent development or training organization in the world, I believe. So she decided to start certification. She left, and they asked me to become a part of it because they had stumbled upon Billion Dollar Graphics, liked what I had. I had also done a few workshops with them. And they said, well, this guy, this Mike Parkinson guy, isn't a jerk face. So, and he seems like he kind of knows what he's talking about. Let's invite him in to be more a part of this as Nancy Duarte. Nancy Duarte exited, which was a huge honor. So you have this Oscar winning, I think it is. I think it was an Oscar. Oscar winning PowerPoint person, which is like, okay, yeah, that's not me. I'm stepping into her shoes. And then they asked me, hey, can you write a book and also create certification training for ATD? Because when she leaves, we lose all of that. I said yes, and that's how the book started. That's how the book and the workshop started.
Oh, wow. It's amazing how you are able to know over the journey, how you are able to connect the dots and reinvent yourself as a different person, Mike. That's classic.
Well, the funny thing is, Bhaskar, is that the same skill sets, and this is what shocked me, the same skill sets that I use in proposals and bids, I use in sales, and I use in training. It sounds like it doesn't make sense. However, at its core, let's look at training. At its core, it's improve recollection, and improve adoption. That isn't very different from sales. You got to understand me. You got to be able to remember what I said. It's got to be memorable, and you got to buy into it. It's so similar. It's crazy. So the skill sets at their core are absolutely lockstep with one another.
Very nicely said, Mike. So from all these things, at what point did you join the APMP as a member, Mike?
Oh my goodness. I would have to say close to 15 years ago, 16 years ago, maybe more, since I've been I've been with 24 Hour Company for 22 years. So maybe it was 18 years ago that I joined APMP.
2001-ish. Wow. Okay. So what was your first conference?
Oh my goodness. I can't remember. My, Bhaskar and Ashley, I got to tell you, my sense of time is terrible. Everything blends together. I remember events, not time. So for me, I graduated from college maybe about 5 years ago. Obviously, I did not. So, but still, that's in my brain. It's very difficult to tell. I would have to say it was probably something like Wild Horse Pass, which was in Arizona or something like that.
Right. Somewhere around 2003, 4.
Yeah, whatever was going on in that date, that's where I was.
That's nice, Mike. I think that clearly tells me, Mike, and also Ashley, that you have been like with APMP for a long time. I think from writing articles, speaking engagements, webinar talks, and stuff. Mike, do you kind of keep tabs of the number of talks and the articles and stuff that you have written and contributed, Mike?
Articles, not really. I lost track of that when I have all the articles, but you know what I'm going to do right this very second? I am going to very quickly open up a file and I will tell you what my number is on for presentations that I've given. Here we go. Let's see. I am counting the numbers right now. We are at somewhere around, looks like we are at around the 400 mark.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. So it's been a lot. And what a wonderful way to learn, because boy, have I made a lot of mistakes along the way.
100%, Mike. I mean, like 400 presentations. I mean, like that's unbelievable, Mike. And also these talks, these subjects, Mike, and I've also noticed, Mike, you are also writing for NCA at the moment. Is there any other chapters that you write, or how long have you been writing for NCA now, Mike?
I've been writing for NCA since oh my goodness, 10 years. More than that. More than that. Yeah. I contribute to the articles, and I also write for other organizations, not for profits and things like that. And if there's some ridiculous, not ridiculous, if there's something that gets a lot of attention, that that people have come to term clickbait. So essentially a clickbait article would be all proposal professionals should be fired immediately. That's clickbait. It's ridiculous. It's hyperbole. And I'll respond to an article that's just meant to, because the last thing I want to do is have someone who has an agenda, which is to generate traffic, negatively impact our industry.
Got you. That's nicely put, Mike. And then with all the speaking engagement, Mike, you did manage to do the certifications with the APMP as well, the foundation practitioner and stuff. At what point did you start to get yourself immersed with the certification, Mike?
That was about 10 years ago. Everything's going to be about 10 years because my sense of time is terrible. So forgive me if my timing is off. I was super duper nervous. I mean, people said, I think I became a fellow before I was certified.
Oh, nice.
And so someone said, look, if you're representing the organization, you probably want to be certified. And I said, yes, but I'm terrified. I'm so afraid that somebody will find out that I'm a fraud, that I don't know what I'm talking about. Because I'm doing a small piece of the whole procurement process. Whereas other people know from cradle to grave. They know from the beginning to the end. They know how to shred an RFP or know how to do proper sales. And I didn't know that I would have those answers. Long story short, I took the test. I did pass. I can't tell you if I passed very high or very low. I just know I passed. And then from there, I was confident that I could do the next two levels, which were about my specific vocation or my specific core competency. So it wasn't necessary for me to have the broader spectrum or the broader understanding. I could get really geeky.
That's brilliant, Mike. So wow. So both. So you, did you do in one go, Mike? Like foundation practitioner, professional, or you took your time over the years?
From foundation to practitioner took a couple years. I think about a year. I think maybe a year or two, because I was I finished the test and I was like, well, I don't want to do that again. That was horrible. So then Kathy Day, who is one of the people that encourages people to do it, and she's amazing. Yes. And of course, Charlie Devine, the whole gang that has been a huge driving force for certification. Well, Kathy said, come on, Mike, let's do this. So I went ahead and did the practitioner. And she said, as soon as I finished the practitioner, I was going to the next conference, and I don't know where it was, New Orleans or something like that. And she said, well, I'm going to be there. You're going to be there. Let's just do the professional certification. And I was like, well, I just finished it. She said, it's easy. It's easy. You wrote a book. You're out there speaking. You're going to have a lot of those check boxes checked off. A lot of those boxes checked off. So we did it. So right after I finished, I went into a space with Kathy Day and a few other people, and we did the professional certification. And within, I think, a day, she said, yep, green light, you did well. You met all the requirements.
Perfect. That will definitely inspire Ashley, I hope, because Ashley's working through her professional life.
Oh, you're going to do great, Ashley. You're going to do amazing.
Thank you.
And when Ashley goes through, then I will start my thing. So that's good. Great. Thank you, Mike. So now it's over to Ashley. Yes.
Oh my gosh, Mike, you've had such an amazing journey, and we've drilled you with some kind of tough questions. We have some fun ones for you now. So can you tell us your 3 favorite words in French?
Oh my gosh. I may have to censor myself. One of them is a swear word, so I'm not going to say that one. I would have to say... I like the French word for français. I love that word. I like saying je parle français comme l'enfant. I love saying anything that has that French accent on it. Manger, I love eating. And so I love the word manger, which is to eat. And then I'm not going to say the swear word. I'm trying to think. I love saying pour l'homme, pour femme, for man or for woman. So I like that phrase. I can't narrow down the word in that. So does that help?
Yeah, no, those are amazing. What about 3 things not many people know about you?
Maybe people don't know that I'm a comic book geek. I have a pretty big comic book collection because I used to draw comic books for a while for a small independent comic book company. I get to go to San Diego Comic-Con every year for free. And I went many years. I think the last year I went was a year and a half ago. And what an amazing experience. Boy, you talk about geeking out. Oh my goodness. What a cool thing. Ran into some incredibly famous people just eating dinner, and then I'd bump into them on the way out or something like that. So it was a lot of fun stories. A few things that, so big comic book geek, dig on eating properly and staying physically fit. I don't know if people know that about me by looking at me. I'm definitely look fit, but you can't tell that I'm fitter than I am. Maybe, who knows? I don't know. 3 things. And a third thing is, can't think of a third thing. I'm trying to think. Love pop culture. I mean, my idea of having a good time is stumbling upon some really cool movie or television show. For example, I stumbled upon, there's a great, I don't know if you're into, anybody out there listening is into zombie flicks, but there's an amazing film called Last Train to Busan. I may be mispronouncing it. Oh, one of the best zombie films ever. So really big on the pop culture stuff, really like horror, sci-fi, fantasy, stuff like that. Good comedies. So big pop culture fan. Couldn't name any actor, but I could name the movie.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you said you're a big comic book geek. Who would win a fight between Spider-Man and Batman?
Although I'm a Marvel guy through and through, Batman would kick his butt.
Love it. Okay, so you've been given an elephant. You can't give it away or sell it. What would you do with the elephant?
Oh my goodness, these are fun questions. What to do with the elephant? I can't give it away or sell it. I would definitely make it my pet, and I would treat it like I would treat any pet, lovingly, so that it was comfortable, happy. The last thing I do is charge people money to ride it, because I see those elephants someplace. I'm like, don't look very happy. So for all I know, the elephant is super duper happy. But I'm saying I'm going to find a way to make it a pet, give it a lot of area and fun things to play with. So it would become my coolest pet ever, and I would name it something fun like Babar, or something pop culture reference for sure.
Oh, that's great. So if you could pick a new first name, what would it be and why?
New first name. Let's see. What would be how about Beskar? That would be a new first name. Why would I do it? Because he's super cool and I'm trying to be like Beskar. We should come up with a song about how cool Beskar is.
Oh, we definitely should.
Yes.
Okay. So describe the color yellow to somebody who is blind.
Bright, shiny, happy, energetic. These are all terms you would use for the color yellow.
Great. If you win $1 billion, what would you buy first?
I would probably make sure that everyone I care about is taken care of. So if I won $1 billion, first thing I'd do is, for my parents, I'd make sure that they're okay financially. And I would make sure the people that I care most about are okay. That if there was, someone wanted to pay off a car, someone having trouble with paying a bill, or someone wanted to make sure that their home's heater was fixed because it was cold in the winter, or their kid needed something, medicine that they couldn't afford, I would make sure that's the first thing I would do.
Oh my gosh, such a big heart, Mike.
And it sounds, I say that out loud. Would I do that? I'm thinking, yeah, I might. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would.
Can you name 3 other geeks in our industry?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, besides the 2 of you, Ashley and Beskar, I mean, you two are super duper geeky in a lovingly, amazing, wonderful, huggable way. So yes, BJ Lowney is definitely his company, Strategic Proposals. His company's motto is passionate about proposals, and his partner in crime, John Williams, same thing. 2 other geeks. I mean, Charlie Devine, I named those. I could really go down. I have a huge list of people that I could do with. Beth Wingate. I don't know if you know Beth Wingate. What a wonderfully geeky person. I mean, she could geek out with you forever and then turn it off. Like, unlike BJ and John, for example, she can stop talking about work. Like, just turn it off. I don't know how she does that. I'm drawing a blank on names because you asked me. I gave you 3, right? We're good?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Awesome.
Yes, Mike, that was brilliant, Mike. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. Mike, then going back, I know you touched your parents and things, but if you're looking back at your career and life so far, Mike, who are the people who have been most influential and you're grateful for in your life and also specifically in your career, Mike?
Yes, specifically there's 4 people that come to mind, and one, of course, is my mom, because she encouraged me no matter what. There's a lot of books that talk about unconditional love, and she gave me unconditional love. My wife, definitely. I mean, she is the closest thing to a perfect person that I've come across. I'm very, 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 very lucky to have her as not only my wife, but my best friend. Number 2 is Dennis Fitzgerald, who started 24 Hour Company. He was my mentor. He was the person that helped me become the person that you're listening to. I couldn't speak English properly. I was struggling with English. Bhaskar, your English is far better than mine. But I had to take remedial English in college because I grew up in the inner city in Baltimore. So my English skills were different. And then the next person was Dave Johnson, who introduced me to Dennis Fitzgerald. That was very, very fortuitous. And then on another level, I have some grandparents that really stood by me and helped me out. And so those are the people that at the core kicked butt, took names, helped me so much, made me make me the person that I am, and continue to help make me better.
Wow. Thank you, Mike. That was heartwarming, really. I'm glad that you mentioned your parents, your family, and then your colleagues. You're blessed, Mike. Let me put that way, because everybody whom I speak to, they all have warm words about you, Mike. And I'm sure, with that love, there are much more people that you are not aware of that you have touched as well. I'm 100% sure.
I hope touched in a good way.
Yes, Mike, sure.
So, Mike, it sounds like you've had so many great influences over your career. What's the best piece of advice you've received, and from whom?
The best piece of advice, almost all of my advice is going to come from Dennis. He's very wise. For a young person at the time that we met, he's a very wise person. But the number one piece of advice, and the heaviest, most difficult to implement piece of advice I ever received, is very simple. It was, you are responsible. That no matter where I am in life, I put myself there. And things happen. People have tragedy that happens around them, and I do too. Lose a leg or a family member, or something horrible. The challenge is, you are responsible. You are response-able, meaning your response is up to you. And I learned that rather than finger pointing and saying it's someone else's fault, I have a bad boss, a client's mean to me, so I'm going to feel depressed or sad. It is my choice how I react to it. That was heavy, because then I looked at my life and said, where I wasn't happy with it. And I said, well, I kind of put myself here. So what am I going to do about it? Woo, that was heavy.
Yeah,
that was challenging. Best piece of advice I ever received, because now I'm in control of my life. I'm not being lived, I'm living. I have an internal locus of control. When things happen, I have greater control over them. And if there's something that's outside of my control, then I don't sweat it. I say, you know what, that's outside of my control. And if I do care about it, then I step into it with all of who I am and begin to take control of the situation.
Wow, that's amazing. I think we can all learn from that advice. So on the flip side, what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours?
My experience has been that I had to find something that I was passionate about in what I do. I would not say that I started out passionate about proposals. That was not what I was not. However, I was passionate about the part of proposals that I did. And that is what carried me forward, because there are times when it got really difficult. When I had a client that I worked for a company where they would throw things at each other. They would throw staplers, and that was a toxic environment. And so what got me through it, besides the fact that I could say, hey, if you throw something at me, I'm leaving. But the other thing was that I was passionate about what I did. I was passionate about helping people be successful and doing things that I was very good at that they might not be as good at. So that was what kind of pulled me through or got me through the tough times when my job felt like it was really, really, really difficult.
Wow. Yeah, that's great advice. So you've accomplished so much over the years. What's next for you?
Thank you. And I don't see it that way, but because I think we're our own worst critics. Definitely next. Right now, my passion is sharing what I've learned and what I've learned from other people who are way smarter than I am. I read a lot. I watch a lot of documentaries and learning materials, and then I kind of take it, bring it in, and I turn it into something that I think is very useful for our industry and for the training and development industry. Right now, my big thing is I created a tool with some other smart people called Builder Graphic. And essentially what it is, you type your text into PowerPoint and it gives you a visual representation of that text. So it's a great way to help people visualize, empower people to do it themselves. And it's also, and this is what I'm most proud of, it's a visual learning system, meaning that the more people use it, the more they understand what words translate into what visuals. So it's a great way to get people up to speed on finding more efficient ways to communicate information. And I'm very proud of this, a keynote that I developed per Rick Harris, who runs APMP. He's the executive director. Yeah, hopefully I got that title right. He's Grand Poobah. He asked me to do a keynote last year, and I've been working on a book called At a Glance. And the whole premise of the book is we live in an at-a-glance society. People no longer request that the information be clear and succinct. They require it. And so what can we do with that? Okay, people require their information be clear and succinct. How do we make information or verify that it's clear and succinct? And so that is something I'm proud of. The keynote and the book I'm working on to help people communicate in a world that demands efficiency.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, Mike, thank you so much, Mike. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a privilege to have you with us at Scribble Talk. Wish you all the good health and happiness, Mike, and please continue to inspire the bid and proposal industry colleagues now, future, and for the foreseeable future, Mike.
The same to you and Ashley Bhaskar. I mean, doing Scribble Talk in and of itself, you're doing exactly that.
Thank you so much, Mike. And let's keep in touch, Mike.
You better believe it. Thank you so much, Bhaskar. Thank you so much, Ashley, for having me.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchyscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Pastor Sundram,
signing off.